This is Next Radio 2017 with Broadcast Bionics.
Hello. I'm kind of thinking I want a jingle now to welcome me into every room I enter. That felt quite good. Now, I hope you all understand me. I'm not from around here. I'm from the colonies. I'm from New Zealand, in fact. And in the 141 days I've been in this country, everybody, bar 3 people, have assumed I'm Australian. Now, given you Brits sent all your convicts over to Australia and your nice family folk to New Zealand, apart from James, of course, recently, he's not a convict, I'm a little unsure as to why this is happening and where the confusion kind of came from. But I have decided I needed to address it, so I'm ramping up my Kiwi accent. I am celebrating my blunt consonants, which I'm told Kiwis have, and my dulcet tones. And then I thought, how are you guys going to understand me today if this is happening? So I asked my crew at Maple Street Creative if they could rip through my presentation and translate all my weird little Kiwiisms into proper British dialect for you today. And that's what we've done. We are going to today, ladies and gentlemen, travel the world full tit across the next 18 minutes.
Full tit. To travel at high speed. Like the English expression full tilt, except wrong.
We're going to have a look at a whole heap of ideas. Some of them are going to be creative campaigns, others promos, and all of them have got a client wrapped into it. Now, initially I was going to do an idea every minute, and then I watched a video from last year's Next Radio, you may have seen this, where James and Matt put an electric dog collar on a speaker. Are any of you familiar with this? Every time he went over the minute mark, he got zapped. I thought, bloody hell, corporate punishment in this country for speakers. I'm not going to touch on that. But we are going to look at a lot of ideas today, and we're going to tiki tour around the world as fast as we can.
Tiki tour. The long way around. Example, sorry I'm late. I went on a tiki tour.
Early in my career, I worked for a radio station called The Edge, a CHR brand, who are renowned for crazy stunts and promos. And the next idea I'm going to share with you comes from the station, and it happened a couple of months ago. It grabbed my attention and the attention, I'm sure, of a whole heap of teenage boys. And this is Win JJ's boobs. Now, JJ is the breakfast announcer on this show, and this entire show lived their lives on air. JJ wanted a breast reduction, so they thought, well, it's pretty obvious. We should turn this into a radio promo and give away a breast enlargement at the same time. Now, the reason I wanted to share this with you is the beautiful balance of controversial and shocking title to pull an audience in. A gorgeous glimpse into JJ's innermost thoughts, the inappropriate, relatively offensive comments from her ex-husband co-host thrown without, and some stunning storytelling from the listeners who rang in wanting to win this breast enlargement. Now, the winner had just gone through a double mastectomy for carrying the breast cancer gene, so the end was a beautiful, stunning radio campaign. It was truly fantastic. Who would actually sponsor a campaign where you're giving away someone's boobs? A lingerie company, Rose and Thorn, thought it was absolutely tūmeki and ran with it.
Tūmeki, a Maori word literally translated as too much, can also be used to mean awesome or great. Example, how are you today? Tūmeki.
It needs a little bit more passion. Tūmeki. Tūmeki. It's got great emotion in that word. Back in the day, I used to be the fake caller for the rock radio station. So I have been crazy wives. I have been really obsessed girlfriends. And there was once a time, I'm not proud of it, where I was a Tourette sufferer. For the next announcer, I'm going to talk about Jono Pryor. Now, Jono is part of a formidable duo, Jono and Ben. These guys used to be on the rock and have just recently moved over to the Edge. These guys know how to do content, they do it well. And the one thing that they have always done throughout their career is sit at the table when a brief hits for their station. And I think that really, really impacts on the content that they're delivering for their brand and also for clients. The idea I want to tell you about today was was brought to life when they needed to work with V, the energy drink. And the promo was called Jono v Ben. Jono and Ben were put against each other in competition to come up with the new flavour for V. Now, they lived this product development out on air across all of their channels. They developed these new flavours. They took them to the street. The nation voted, and the loser had to listen to a Justin Bieber song on rotate for 3 days with headphones gaffer taped to their head. It was a fantastic idea, and it worked really, really well for these guys. Now, this was the most successful product launch V had ever run. 2 million cans sold. 2 million cans branded Jono and Ben, branded The Rock, sitting on shelves and in consumers' hands in a country where the population is 4.8 million, and the client paid for it. It's pretty choice, bro.
Bit of a dag.
Oh, I've
a
skipped
cheeky
one.
person. Someone with a hard-edged sense of humour. Example, oh, Dave's not racist, he's just a bit of a dag.
And this radio station I'm going to tell you about right now is a bit of a dag, as is the idea. When I moved back to New Zealand, 10 years ago now, from being in the UK, I arrived in New Zealand, and the station I was working for had just acquired an independent electronic dance station called George FM. It was very cool. At 9 in the morning, they were told that they'd been sold to a big media company. At 10 a.m, I went as their GM. You can just imagine the response I got. I learned a huge amount at this radio station. I learned that I was particularly uncool. I learned that I didn't actually know what was hot in terms of music and fashion, and I also learned how quickly things can escalate when your drive announcer tries to give away a prostitute on air. The idea I'm going to tell you about today is George FM Steal Your T-shirt, and this ran across all of our platforms, all of the platforms as it should now with radio. But it also included an interactive outdoor campaign, which was very clever. A limited run of T-shirts were designed and released, and the audience were encouraged to steal them. George FM taped up T-shirts to their poster campaigns around the country, put a live camera on it, streamed it, and encouraged their audience through clues on air to go and find these T-shirts and pinch them. It was sponsored by an insurance company, First Cover, and delivered outstanding results. It was a pretty choice.
Bro. Used when you want to say something is really cool. Example, Dude 1, I'm going to get new wheels for my car. Dude 2, choice bro.
We've got to head over to Australia now and see these guys, world famous Kyle and Jackie O. These guys were asked to help with the launch of a promo for a new TV show called Billions. So they ran with a promo called Make It Rain Billions, an idea they had wanted to do for ages, but there wasn't any context to help them. They basically, and you'll see it shortly as it happens, threw cash out of a helicopter and it allowed listeners to come and grab as much as they could. Unlike Monopoly, the bank changed it into real money. Now I'm going to let this play while I share something that happened to these guys a couple of weeks ago, and you may be across this, the nude dating segment. Does anyone? Yeah, pretty brave how things go wrong. These guys have a segment where they encourage two strangers to come into the studio in a robe. They undress, they're in their underwear, and they interview each other. Now, these strangers are told that if they would like to get completely nude during the interview, they're more than welcome to, only in Australia. And this happened. Not only did they get nude a couple of weeks ago, they got frisky. They really liked each other, and the complaints rolled in faster than the money actually flew out of this helicopter. Ka pai, Australia, for being brave.
Maori word for very good. Example, that idea was very, very good.
And very, very bad at the same time. Sticking with Australia, and this is an interesting idea because it shows how strong and powerful it is when you make your audience the superstars. And this is an idea that came out of Hamish and Andy's Global Choir. You may have seen this. They went out to their audience and decided to make a music video which everybody could contribute. They set up a microsite where you could go in and look at the song that they wanted to record. It feels like this has been done many, many years ago somewhere else, a global choir with people coming together. But they brought everybody together on the microsite. People could upload their videos, and 50 were chosen, which they turned into a music video, and it was really fantastic, celebrating the audience. Have you guys seen Citizen Swap, which Hamish and Andy did recently with Christian O'Connell? from Absolute. If you haven't, check it out. It's a paper, scissors, rock promo, and it was absolutely hilarious. Now, out of the wop wops of New Zealand and Australia, it's time to head to Asia.
Wop wops. Situated a long way off the beaten track. Example, I'm not going to Mike's party. It's a bit out in the wop wops.
One of the things you realise very quickly when you work in different markets around the world is that fundamentally media is the same. Radio is radio. Radio people, we're all actually very similar. Radio people are the same as well. The difference is culturally. What ideas come to life are very much based on the culture that you're working in at any given time. And in a market such as Asia, it's not the confrontational, shocking stunts that happen. It's more of a nice, soft, inclusive promotion. But what we are seeing in recent times is this kind of start of very brave commercial campaigns where they're addressing relatively risky social issues. And the next idea touches on this, and it's Poems from the Womb, the most amazing piece of content, which I encourage you to have a look at. I've got the tiniest example for you here today.
In the waters of your womb, I'm asleep. It is my tomb.
This is addressing the prevalent gender side around the world, and particularly in Asia. And please do have a look at the content. It is absolutely striking. Another market I have worked in is Turkey. And I was there consulting for 6 months, and 3 things about Turkey that still blow me away. The first is the sheer reach and engagement those radio stations gather is truly phenomenal. The second, which is equally truly phenomenal, is the restrictions and limitations in terms of what we could say or report in that country. And the third is the speed at which people drive there. It was unbelievable. We never said to our driver, you've got to rattle your dags, you've got to get us there quickly, but he did. He did.
Rattle your dags. Oddly, nothing to do with the previous use of the word dag, meaning hurry up, get a move on.
This is a campaign that comes out of the Middle East, and it's for a client called Hair Life Clinic. And the challenge that these guys had was they couldn't actually get people to come in for a hearing test. It was too expensive. So they decided to use radio creative to take the hearing test to the people. They made a commercial where they disguised a frequency as bird noises, and the idea behind it was if you could hear the bird noises, your hearing's great. If you couldn't, you've got a challenge and you need to dive into these guys and get it properly tested. And we are going to do that just now. I'm assuming that we're at a radio audio conference going to be able to hear the birds, but we've got a little snippet of it right now.
There. Could you hear him? Because those suffering from hearing loss may not.
Do we hear it? Oh God, a bit nervous. I think it's really, really interesting. We're actually seeing many campaigns embracing this broader kind of idea that audio is incredibly powerful, this whole sense of sound. And I know I'm preaching to the converted here when I say this, but the audio output has been proven to drive incredibly high levels of engagement in the human brain. We're hardwired as humans to respond to audio. It's really exciting, and I think a very positive kind of step, I guess, that people are really using this in their creative and focusing on this. And we are seeing it in a range of campaigns. There's one called Parkin Sounds, a collaboration with Spotify, and they're working with Parkinson's sufferers. There is another one called out of Spain, I believe, called Football Memories FM. And these guys are looking at how they can use audio to help people with Alzheimer's. Now, if you go back sort of 5 years ago, we had mosquitoes being addressed with repellent radio. 3 years ago, we had K9 FM, the radio station to keep dogs company. This is an evolution, people. We are now dealing with audio to help humans. I kind of feel like the last few years has been this weird kind of animal testing to get us to understand that audio has some incredibly powerful strengths. Hey, now, in another country that has insanely ridiculous driving speeds is Germany. I travelled the autobahns over there, and I've got to tell you, I got the willies the entire time.
Get the willies. A sudden feeling of trepidation or nervousness. Nothing to do with genitals.
Now, the German Road Safety Council ran a commercial, which is fascinating. This is a live read where they reenacted a live car accident happening during it. So it's just an interesting piece of content which shows how you can integrate a live read into content.
Christian, hi.
Moin Christian, wo sind Sie gerade?
Also ich bin gerade auf der A7 in Richtung Stadt.
Also schön zum Wochenende noch ein paar Sachen shoppen gehen.
Ja.
Was ist denn Ihr Freitag-Feierabendwunsch?
Also ich wünsche mir von den...
Christian, alles okay bei Ihnen? Christian!
He did swear, but I thought I'd cut that out of it. Now, we're going to skip the UK in terms of ideas. You are the creators of fantastic content here, so you know better. But we are going to finish up very, very quickly in America while we can still get in before that man who is mad as a meat axe completely screws that country. And this is an idea. Oh, it's vanished. Here it comes. And this is an idea.
Mad as a meat
Oh,
axe.
he is mad as a meat axe.
Unhinged, mentally ill, insane. Example, ignore that Kiwi lady on the stage. She's mad as a meat axe.
So the creators thought that was pretty funny, and I left it in there, but there will be conversations later on that. Now, this is a collaboration between Snickers and Spotify called Starving Artists. Spotify went out and found starving artists off the street and asked them to blend their music genres with hunger symptoms. So when you're hungry, you're a bit confused and foolish, you're confoolish. You could be sleepy and angry, you're slangry. You could be kook sad, you're a little bit kooky and sad. And they created it into an album for Spotify. For Snickers.
Step down, took a ride down broken concrete.
Now, to finish up, we have travelled the 7 Cs at speed. Now, I'm going to share with you the 7 Cs for fantastic creative. The first is collaborate. Don't be afraid to collaborate with agencies, with clients, with announcers, with all of your staff on creating great ideas. Be brave. Controversy can be really, really good. Content first. Remember that the idea has to lead. You can't shoehorn something that doesn't fit. The audiences are way too sophisticated now, and we'll pick up on that. Has to be compelling. A creative idea has to move somebody to feel, whether it's sad, angry, whether it's somebody reminiscing on an idea. They need to feel, and you need to know what that emotion is prior to starting the idea. Creative comes from anywhere. Don't be afraid to use other ideas to sort of stimulate your creative. Celebrate the power of audio. Oh, look at me clicking through at pace. Celebrate the power of audio. Here we go. Click, click, clickety, click. And the final one is cost of sale. So that little black book of all of those ideas that you've always wanted to run and haven't been able to because of cost, here is your opportunity now when you collaborate and bring a partner on board. And we have done that. We have put all of these 7 Cs into the next piece of compelling content to leave you with today. Thank you.
Emily Turnbull, everybody.